My name is Madhavananda Das, and here we are in Sri Mayapur with our daily adventures in Srimad Bhagavatam. Narayanam namaskrityam naram shaiva narotamam devim saraswatyam vyasam tato jayam udirayat vede ramayanesh chaiva purane bhadate tata Adavante chamadye cha hari sarvatra giyate mukam karoti vachalam pangum langayate girim yad kripa tamaham vande shri gurum dinataranam paramananda madhavam paramananda he madhava Padunga Luchi Makaranda Se Makaranda Panakori Anande Bolo Hari Hari Harinka Name Vandavela Parikori Be Chakadola Se chakadolanka paraye manamo rahu nirantare manamo nirantare rahu ha Krishna boli jiva jao ha Krishna boli jao jiva mote dada radha dava Moteu dada radha dava Moteu dada radha dava Dharma pujita kaitavo chapadamo nirmachanam satam vedyam vastava maktavasya shivadam tapatranam mulanam Shrimad Bhagavate Mahamuni Krite Kim Vapadayishvara Sadyo Hidyavarudyate Chakati Bishu Shushu Distakshana Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So good morning from Sri Mayapur, and nice to see Bonnie here. I hope it's nice and warm there in Vermont, in Madhupati Prabhu in Hungary, and Lynn in Eastern Washington. Nice to see everybody this morning. So we have a really, really exciting topic in front of us today. I want to speak something about this. We've been speaking about the parama-premātura devotee, the topmost devotees, and now we want to speak about the parama-premātura devotee this morning, or the supreme devotee of all the devotees. So we've been speaking about Lord Kapiladeva's description of śuddha-bhakti. We're on chapter 3 of canto 3 of the Srimad Bhagavatam, chapter 29, text number 13, very famous verse. Salokya sasti samipya sarupya katvam apyuta Diyamanam nabhinanti vinamat sevanam janaha. Translation: a pure devotee does not accept any kind of liberation, salokya, sasti, samipya, sarupya, or ekatva, even though they're offered by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And I'm going to read just one paragraph from Srila Prabhupada's wonderful purport. We've been reading it from every day. He says, Lord Chaitanya teaches us how to execute pure devotional service out of spontaneous love for the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In the Siksastaka, he prays to the Lord, O Lord, I do not wish to gain from you any wealth, nor do I wish to have a beautiful wife, nor do I wish to have many followers. All I want from you is that in life after life, I may remain a pure devotee at your lotus feet. There is a similarity between the prayers of Lord Chaitanya and the statements of Srimad Bhagavatam. Lord Chaitanya prays, quote, in life after life, end of quote, indicating that a devotee does not even desire the cessation of birth and death. The yogis and empiric philosophers desire cessation of the process of birth and death, but a devotee is satisfied to remain even in this material world and execute devotional service. Gauragraganya gana gota goloruharam Gauranga Guratama Gopyada Kopa Vriksham Gopalagada Ratidam Yati Singha Gora Govinda Deshikavaram Satatam Namami. So we've been speaking, this is the fourth session we've had on this verse. I hope we'll finish today. We've been speaking something about the different types of liberation and how the topmost devotees, they're not interested in that. And we read something about this from the writings of Srila Rupa Goswami, in which he describes two types of devotees, or the Sukhaishvaryottara devotees, devotees who they have some desire for liberation. I remember there was one friend of mine, a Prabhupada disciple actually, who very frankly said, I want to go to the heavenly planets. I've heard it's really good. That's my goal. In Los Angeles. There was one devotee praying like that. And okay, that's honest, why not? But even aside from the heavenly planets, there are certain persons who desire the Sukha, Aishvarya, Uttara. Uttara means the predominant desire. They want some happiness and some opulence. But better than them are the Prema Sevotara devotees, in which they really don't care about liberation. The only reason they may accept liberation is so that they can serve the Lord. And amongst those types of devotees, the one-pointed devotees are the best. And that's the parama-premātura bhaktas. And we spoke in our last session, we left off about how the devotees of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu are the best of the parama-premātura bhaktas. And how Rupa Goswami defines these devotees by speaking about the difference between Krishna and Narayan. Siddhanta twasta vedepi srisha Krishna sarupayo rasano krishyate Krishna rupam esa rasastiti. Although they're, according to Siddhanta, in philosophy, Abheda, they're non-different. Sri Isha, Lord Narayan, who's the Lord of Lakshmi Devi, and Krishna, they're non-different. Still, Rasana Krishyate Krishna Rupamesha Vasastiti. Krishna's form is superior. Lord Narayan's form is when God wants to go to the office. And he enjoys going to the office also. He doesn't have a hard time in the office. But he prefers when he's at home on vacation. And at home on vacation means his Vrindavan leaders. So the parama-premātura bhaktas, the topmost of those devotees, are the devotees who are focused on worshiping Nandanandan Krishna. And Rupa Goswami says those devotees, they've had their hearts stolen. And even if Lord Narayan personally comes before them and says, here I am, what would you like? They say, thanks, that's okay. Really, I don't want anything. All that I want is pure bhakti. And in our last session, we gave an example of this in Jagannath Leela, the story of Dineshwar Sharma and King Maharaj Chodagangadev, and how Maharaj Chodagangadev was really into worshiping the Lord with opulence, but Dineshwar Sharma said no. Vrindavan-bihari Krishna, he enjoys his sweet pastimes with the gopis and residents of Braj, and he's a simple cowherd boy, and he gets more pleasure in that way. So Srila Prabhupada in his purport has commented that this verse is, in the Bhagavatam, is something like a reflection of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's verse in Siksastaka. I'd like to say a little bit about that today. We're not going to give class on this verse. That would take us a long time. But Mahaprabhu, in the fourth verse of Siksastaka, he says, Na dhanam na janam na sundarim kavitam va jagadisha kama ye mama janmani janmanishvare bhavatad bhakti rohitiki tvayi. That I don't want dhanam. I don't want riches. I'm not here for a job. I don't need to get paid by people. We depend upon Krishna. Janam, I'm not here to make followers. Devotees should think about it. Na sundaryam, I don't want a very beautiful woman. Or sundaram kavitam. I don't want some flowery words and fruitive activities. Mama janmani janmanishwari. Birth after birth, meaning I also don't want liberation. All that I want, bhavatad bhaktir ahoitaki twayi. All that I want is devotion. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur in his commentary, his son Modana Bhashya commentary on this verse of Siksastaka, he says there's both an anvaya, a positive statement in this verse, and a vyatirek, a negative consideration. And the vyatirek is the first two lines. Dhanam na janam na sundarim kavitam vajagati shakamaye. These indicate the tatastha lakshana, or external characteristics of bhakti. That I don't want wealth, I don't want followers, I don't want beautiful women, I don't need kavitamba, I don't need to become a great poet and have lots and lots of knowledge. That's not śuddha-bhakti. Those are tatastha, those are the external characteristics of bhakti. The anvaya, or the positive aspects of bhakti indicated in the verse, are the surup lakshana. These are the positive or intrinsic characteristics of bhakti, which are part of its swarup, or fundamental nature. And that's what's being spoken about today, where Mahaprabhu says, Mama janmani janmanishwari, bhavatad bhaktir ahoitaki twayi. I don't want anything. All that I want is to serve you. So this is the nature of the prematura, parama-premātura bhaktas. They don't want anything at all. And so in our last discussion, we spoke a couple of verses from the 83rd chapter of the 10th canto, which were spoken by the queens of Dwarka to Draupadi, the wife of the Pandavas. When they got together there, they said, hey, how did you end up marrying Krishna? And they began to speak about different things. And those ladies, they told Draupadi, Na vayam sadvisam rajam swarajam bhojam apyuta. We don't want to become the queens of the earth. We don't care if we become Indra, Bhojam. We don't care if we get unlimited powers of enjoyment. He says, apyata vairajam. We don't even want mystic powers. We don't want the position of Lord Brahma. Anantyam. We're not asking for liberation, to become immortal. All that we want, Hare Padam. We want the lotus feet of Krishna. Kamaya Mahe. That's our desire. And they said we want in particular, we want the pada raja, or the dust from Krishna's feet, which has in that dust, it's mixed with the Shriya kumkum gandatyam, the ganda, the fragrant kumkum, which comes from the Shriya kucha, or the breast of the goddess of fortune. Now, at this point, and we touched on it briefly in our last discussion, someone may say, why are the queens of Dwarka praying for the dust from Krishna's lotus feet, which has the kumkum from the breast of Lakshmi Devi? So Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur comments on this verse. He says that the goddess of fortune mentioned here, the Shri mentioned here, is not Lakshmi, the consort of Narayan. Although these two, Siddhanta Tvastva Dedepi, Shri Shri Krishna Surupaya, they're not different in terms of Siddhanta, they're a Veda, but in terms of rasa, Krishna is superior. And Vishwanath explains that after all, Lakshmi Devi couldn't even attain the direct association of Krishna, even after doing so many austerities. And we spoke several times about that in our last sessions, how Lakshmi Devi is still there today in Bilvavan. Last time I checked, she's still there doing austerities, thinking, I really want to be with Krishna in the Rasa, but I really don't think I can make cow patties. I can't get into that. I like having my opulence in Vaikuntha. And she has this abhiman, so that Lord Narayan is my pati, is my husband. And so that love is haitaki priti. It's love with a motivation. Whereas the love of the gopikas of Vrindavan, which is, they seem like they're married to someone else, it's ahaitaki priti. It has no motivation. And so the Shri in this verse, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says, is the supreme goddess of fortune. Or today we want to speak about the parama-premātura devotee, the topmost of these one-pointed devotees. And he says this supreme goddess is identified in the Brihad Gautamiya Tantra. Devi Krishna Mayi Prokta Radhika Paradevata Sarva Lakshmi Moyi Sarva Kanti Samohini Para. That this is Srimati Radharani. She's Paradevata. She's the central figure for all Sarva Lakshmi Mayi. She's for all the goddesses of fortune. She's the female counterpart of Krishna. She has the ability to attract Krishna, Samohini Para. And therefore she's a primeval internal potency of the Lord. So in one of our last sessions, we also quoted from Raghunath Das Goswami's Manasiksha, text 4. Asadvarta Vesha Vishijamati Sarvasvaharani Kata Mukti Vyagya Nashinu Kila Sarvatma Gilani Api Chaktva Lakshmi Patiratim Hitovyo Manoyanim Braje Radha Krishna Swarati Manido Tvam Bhajamana. He said, my dear mind, if you really want the topmost thing, if you want to worship the topmost thing, then you should worship Radha Krishna in Vrindavan. And avoid association with people who just want to talk about conspiracy theories and whatever, and quarrel and criticize other people. That discussion, that kind of association is Vaishya Harini. It's like a prostitute which will steal away the treasure of your heart. And definitely, Kata Mukti Vyagra, don't even think about hearing the glories of liberation. As Lord Kapiladeva is saying in this verse today, that my dear devotees, they don't want Salokya Sasti Samyapya Sarupi Katvanapita Diyamana Nagunati Dinamat Sevanamja. Unless there's service there, they're not interested in that. And he says, Raghunath Das Goswami says, Api Chatva Lakshmi Pati Ratim. Don't even think about worshipping Lord Narayan, the husband of the goddess of fortune. Give it up. If you want to worship Radha Krishna in Vrindavan. So Srimati Radharani is a supreme parama-premātura devotee. And Raghunath Das Goswami also speaks about her position in the 10th verse of Manasiksha. Ratim Gori Lile Apitapati Sondaya Kiranai Sachi Lakshmi Satya Paribhavati Sobhagyavalanai Vasikadais Chandra Valimukadnavina Brajasati Kshipat Jarayatam Haridaita Radham Bhajamana. He says, my dear mind, Radha Bhajamana, please worship that Srimati Radharani who's Haridaita, who's very, very dear to Krishna. Ratim Gori Lile Tapati Sundaya Kiranai. Srimati Radharani, the splendor of her beauty far, far surpasses Rati, the wife of Cupid, Gauri, Lord Shiva's wife, Sachi, the wife of Indra, and even Lakshmi Devi, and even Satyabhama. Paribhavita Sobhagya. It defeats their good fortune because it has this strength. Balanai. Balanai means a strength. Vasikarai. She has the ability to make Krishna submissive to her. And even Chandravali, the cousin sister of Srimati Radharani, is far, far eclipsed by Srimati Radharani. So I sent out a song to the devotees here a few days ago, one of my favorite songs, a very wonderful song by Thakur Bhaktivinoda from his Gitavali. It's Radhastaka, song 7. Satakoti gopi madhavaman rakite nari lokori jatan. Satakoti gopi madhavaman. There's millions and hundreds of millions of gopis. They're all trying to get the mind of Krishna, capture Krishna's mind. But rakiti nari lokori jatan, they don't have the power to do it. Benu gite daki radhika nam, esa radhika esham. But Krishna, he's attracted by someone else. Krishna has become mugdha, he's become bewildered, he's become mad. And all that he does all day long is he plays on his flute. And what is he playing on that flute? Benu gite dake radhika nam. He's just calling out the name Radhe, 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 Radhe. Esha, Esha, Radhe, Daka Isham. Oh Radhe, come here, come here. The name of Radha is the sound of Krishna's flute. Bhangi Gashi Rasa Mandalatabi Radha Ambe Sani Chalaya Jabe. Krishna Bhangi Shri Rasa, he breaks the Ras Leela, and Krishna goes looking for Srimati Radharani, and like a madman, Deka Diya Radhe Rakaho Pran, Boliya Kandaye Kanane Kan. He's calling out, oh Radhe, please, please let me see you. Deka Diya Radhe, let me see you. Rakaho Pran, save my life. And in this way, Boliya Kandaye, Kandaye means to cry. Boliya Kandaye, Kanane means in the forest. Kana, Krishna is there in that forest, crying and crying. He's in the forest of bewilderment and separation from Srimati Radharani. Nirjana Kanane Radhare Dhari Milaya Parana Judaye Hari. Then Krishna meets with Radharani in a secluded forest and embraces her. And now his fever of separation becomes cooled down. And Krishna tells her, Bole tunhu binakara rasa, tunhu lagi mora bharaja basa. Krishna says, how can there be a Ras Leela without you? And the only reason I'm doing this Braj Bas and I'm living here in Vrindavan, I'll tell you a secret, is because you're here, Radharani. That's the only reason I stay in Vrindavan. Ehino radhika chara natole bhakti vinoda kandiya bole. And Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he's standing in front of the feet of Srimati Radharani. And Kandiya bole, he's crying and crying and crying. Which brings us to our further topic today. He finishes by saying, Tuya gana majamayare gani kinkori koriya rako apani. Please, my dear Srimati Radharani, please let me become your maidservant. So this verse, today's verse, Salokya Sasti Samnipya Sarupikatam Apyata Diyamananagrinati Dinamat Sevanam Jana, which speaks about how the parama-premātura devotees, they don't want liberation, but all they want, vinamat sevanam jana, they want service. And therefore Mahaprabhu echoes this, na dhanam na janam na sundarim kavitam va jagadisha kamaye mama janmani janmanishwari. I don't care if I take birth again and again. Bhavatad bhakti rohita ki twayi. All that I want is your service. So I want to read you something from a lecture that our Guru Maharaj gave, a lecture that I'm editing right now to include in a new edition of Embankment of Separation. Listen carefully. Guru Maharaj said, the original topmost post in the position of Guru is Radharani. Radharani and her expansions, Kaya Graha, Sakis and Manjris, they are Guru. Radharani and her expansions, the gopis and the Manjris, they are Guru. They are very intimate and dear to Krishna. They are Nija Jana, Krishna's own men. One who has not established his relationship with Barsha Banavi Radha, how can he become Guru? He may be Guru, but he cannot be the Guru of Krishna Tattva. Anyone can be a Guru of other Tattvas, such as Maya Tattva, But no one can become a Krishna Tattvavit guru who knows Krishna unless he's established his relationship with Radharani, because Krishna is completely under Radharani. Radha vina ara kahi noi. Krishna completely belongs to Radha. This is Guru Tattva. And this is the purport of this Nadanam Najanam Nasundarim verse. This is the purport of this verse we're reading in the third canto, chapter 29, text 13. Sa lokisasi samipya. I don't want these kinds of liberation. Diyaman, unless I get vinamat sevanam, unless there's service there. I don't want that. So who is it that can give that service? It's the parama-premātura bhaktas, the topmost devotees who are ekantic, who are one-pointed. They're guru. Guru means someone who can establish our relationship with Krishna. Guru means that person who can give us service to Krishna, because you can't have service on your own. Srila Prabhupada writes in the introduction to, or maybe first chapter of Nectar Devotion, he says that until one becomes initiated, they're not able to render service to Guru. Until we take initiation from Guru. So my Guru Maharaj goes on. So Krishna is Purna Tattva, the complete truth. And Radharani gives the Seva Adhikar the opportunity to serve that complete Krishna. Nobody else but Radharani and her expansions, the Sakhi Manjaris, have the right to give such an opportunity. No one else. So without her mercy and taking shelter of Radharani, we cannot get the opportunity for loving service to Krishna. Those who have accepted Krishna as Sevya Tattva, as the only one to be served, which is being spoken about in this verse today, this is our topic, they have accepted Radha as Guru. These two words, Sevya and Sevaka, come up again. Sevaya means to be served, and Sevaka means servitor. It's a very deep philosophical point. One has to accept Radha as Guru. Otherwise, how can you understand Krishna as Sevya Tattva, the only one to be served? So there's Sevya, the person we serve, and the Sevak, the servitor. And Srimati Radharani is a supreme Sevak. And you cannot serve Krishna unless you go through her. Guru Maharaj says, in all rasas, Dasya, Vatsalya, and Madhurya, Krishna is Vishaya, the object of love. And the Sevakas, those who serve him, are Ashraya, or the abode of love. Vishaya and Ashraya. So those who accept Krishna's Vishaya in all rasas, Barsha Bhanavi Radharani is their Guru. So unless one gets the mercy and the directions of Radharani, nobody can serve Krishna. Those who are very lusty persons, who want their own pleasure and enjoyment, they cannot serve Krishna because they cannot get the mercy and the directions of Radharani. But those who are inhabitants of Vrindavan, they know that without Radharani's mercy, no one can get the opportunity to serve Krishna. Radhikara prema guru ami sishya nata sada ama nananritye nachaya udbhata. These are the words of Krishna found in Chaitanya Charitamrita Adilila chapter 4. Radhikara prema guru ami sishya. I'm the disciple of Radharani. Radharani is my guru, and she's teaching me to dance. And she snaps her fingers and jump, jump, and I jump. And she says, move your leg, I move my leg. Move your arms, I move my arms. Kasma brinde priya sakhi hare pada mula kutoso kudaranye kim iha kurute nitya siksham guruka tam tvam murti pratitaru latam dig vidikshus puranti Salu Shaiva Brahmati Parito Natayanti Supaschat. This verse is quoted by Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami from his Govinda Lilamrita. It's a verse from Chaitanya Charitamrita. And it's a conversation between two gopis. And one of the gopis is speaking to Brinda Devi. And she says, hey Brinda, where are you coming from? And Brinda says, I'm just coming from the lotus feet of Krishna Hari. Where is he? Oh, he's in the forest in the bank of Radhakund. What's he doing there? Oh, he's learning dancing. He's studying dancing. Oh, really? Who is his teacher? Huh? Huh? And you see, he says, Srimati Radharani, who is revealing herself in every tree and creeper in Vrindavan, is making Krishna dance. So Guru Maharaj says, my Guru is Radharani, Krishna says. In loving affairs, my Guru is Radharani, so she always makes me dance according to her tune. So although in our Guru Parampara, the topmost position is Krishna, Krishna says, Radharani is my Guru in loving affairs, and she makes me dance according to her tune. I'll dance, I'll dance. Ami Sishya Nata. I'm her disciple and Nata, dancer. The Guru makes a disciple dance. He says, go there, come here, up, down, up, down. The Guru can make the disciple dance. So Krishna says, Radharani is my Guru in loving affairs, and she always makes me dance according to her tune. I'm dancing according to her tune. My Guru is Radharani. So in the Guru Parampara, the topmost position is Radharani. This is Guru Tattva. And therefore Bhaktivinoda Thakur in Jaiva Dharma, he presents a conversation between some Vaishnavas and some Shaktas. And the Shaktas are saying, Durga is supreme. And the Vaishnavas say, actually, can we tell you something? Actually, we're really Shaktas. You think that we're Vaishnavas, that we're worshippers of Vishnu, but actually, we're really Shaktas. Because we worship Srimati Radharani even more than we worship Krishna. And therefore it said, Vina Radha Prasadena, Krishna Praptina Jayate. Without pleasing Radharani, Vina Radha Prasadena, Krishna Praptina Jayate. You can't get Krishna. Tatashi Radhika Krishna Smarani Yo Susamyuto. Therefore we always remember Krishna and Radharani together. In the Bhavishyota Purana, Krishna tells Narad Muni, Prema bhakto yadi śuddha mat prasadam yadi chasi tadana radha bhavena radha radha ko bhava. Said, my dear Narad, if you really have strong faith in prema bhakti, prema bhakto yadi śuddha, yadi means if you have the śraddha, strong faith in prema bhakti, mat prasadam yadi chasi, if you really want my mercy, then I'll tell you the secret. Tadana radha bhavena radha radha ko bhava. You should become a loving devotee of Srimati Radharani. In the Narada Purana, Krishna says again to Narad Muni. Narad Muni gets a lot of mercy. Krishna says, Satyam, Satyam, Punah Satyam, Satyam, Eva, Punah Punaha. Satyam means it's the truth. It means I swear. It means like, Satyam, Satyam, I'm saying it again. Puna Satya, I say it again. Satya, I say it again. Puna, I say it again and again. Okay, what do you say? Vina Radha Prasadina Mat Prasadina Vidyate. Without the mercy of Radha, you can't get my mercy. And therefore, we pray to Srimati Radharani. Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami describes in his Govinda Lilamrita. Kunkumaka Kanchana Bhaja Garva Hari Gaurava Pitananchita Gwanda Kirti Nindi Soraba Balavesha Suna Saiva Vanchi Tarta Sadika Maya Matma Pada Padma Dasha Dasturadika. There's a very wonderful poetic version by Dravida Prabhu. We're thinking to, if devotees like, we could recite this every day, perhaps during the month of Purushottam. Listen to the poetic translation, okay? This is what the Gaudiya Vaishnavas aspire for. When we speak about Nadanam, Najanam, Nasundaram, when we speak about this verse, how we don't want, the prema topmost devotee doesn't want liberation, vinamat sevanamjana, without service. What is the last limit of that service? The last limit of that service is Radharani. And we want to serve her. Her golden complexion steals the pride of golden lotus tinged with red. Her fragrance mocks the scent of lotus bloom with saffron powder spread. Her skill in satisfying Sri Hari is perfect and complete. May Radhika bestow on me the service of her lotus feet. Her wondrous silken garments shame the splendor rubies can display. She is a blooming garden where the bee of Krishna loves to play. She worships Surya every day so she and Madhava can meet. May Radhika bestow on me the service of her lotus feet. The moon, the lotus, sandal paste, and camphor serve her cooling limbs. When Krishna burns with love's desires, her soothing touch dispels the heat. May Radhika bestow on me the service of her lotus feet. Though youthful goddesses adored by all adore the goddess Shri, she lacks Sri Radha's beauty, youth, and every other quality. So when it comes to lovers' sports, with Radha no one can compete. May Radhika bestow on me the service of her lotus feet. In arts like dancing, singing, joking, Radha is by far the best. She shines with endless traits divine, like love in gorgeous form and dress. Among the famous gopis of Vrindavan, she's supremely sweet. May Radhika bestow on me the service of her lotus feet. Eternal pastimes, beauty, youth, and love for Krishna make her rich. The loving gopis tremble just to see her love at highest pitch. Her meditation on Sri Krishna's form and pastimes is complete. May Radhika bestow on me the service of her lotus feet. Perspiring, trembling, hairs on end, and crying, faltering of the voice, impatience, joy, and guile, these signs of rapture make her friends rejoice. For Krishna's eyes, her many jeweled ornaments provide a treat. May Radhika bestow on me the service of her lotus feet. Apart from Krishna for a moment, Radha feels anxiety and restlessness and other moods, the highest kind of ecstasy. But when she meets him with some effort, all her sufferings retreat. May Radhika bestow on me the service of her lotus feet. Exalted goddesses like Parvati can hardly ever see Sri Krishna's lover Radhika, but if a humble devotee recites these verses, then Sri Radha, who enjoys the Sri Hari, will pour the nectar of his service down on him eternally. So this is the mood of Krishna, this is the mood of the devotees. That for the devotees, Srimati Radharani is the last limit of Guru. Sometimes we ask the question, who is the topmost devotee? Who is that prematura bhakta? That devotee is Srimati Radharani. But what is the proof that Srimati Radharani is the best of all the devotees? What is the best proof? The best proof is Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And therefore, Prabodhananda Saraswati Thakur, he describes Tavad Brahma Kata Vimukta Padavi Tavan Tikti Bhavet Tavach Chapi Vinishkalatvam Ayate No Loka Veda Stuti Tavach Chastra Vidam Mita Kalakalo Nana Bahirvat Basu Sri Chaitanya Padambuja Priyajano Yavan Digochara. So this verse is speaking, this verse in the third canto we're speaking on, is saying, Salokya Sastri Samrita, Sarupya Katanapyata, Diyamananagrinati, Vinamaseva. The devotee doesn't want all these kinds of liberation unless it's service. And so in this verse, Prabodhananda Saraswati Thakur, he says, Tavad Brahmakata Vimukta Padavi. Just hearing talk about impersonal liberation, Tavam Natikti, but it becomes very bitter. And these Vrishni Kalatvam, these shackles, adherence to Loka Veda Stiti, to all this Vedic conventions and things, all those things have become loosened. Even the Tavach Chashta Vidam Mita Kalakalo, all the arguments going on with all the Vedic scholars about spiritual paths and the COVID virus and the conspiracies behind it. All those things, they become useless. When Sri Chaitanya Padambuja Priyajano Yavana Diggochara, when the devotee who's like a bumblebee drinking the nectar of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's lotus feet, all those things become useless. In this regard, I'd like to look finally to end our discussion today with a very, very wonderful conception, which is given also by our Guru Maharaj in another lecture, which is also found in chapter 3 of the Embankment of Separation. And he speaks about how it is that Krishna, although he's prematura, he's complete in everything himself, and although he's aptakam and apmaram, he's completely self-satisfied, still Krishna desires to serve Radharani. Krishna desires to understand the happiness that Radharani gets in that service, because that service is the topmost service. And this is why Mahaprabhu is praying, "Na dhanam na janam na sundaram kabitamba jagadisha kamaya." I don't want wealth, women, followers, mama janmani janmanis. I don't even want liberation, but bhavatad bhaktir ahoitaki tvaye. I want to taste the mood of Radharani. I want to taste the mood of Radharani's service to Krishna. So to do that, Krishna approached Radharani and requested, "Oh, hey, Radhe, please give me your bhav." And Radharani, this is described in one place by the author of Bhakti Ratnakar, Narahari Chakravarti. And at that time, Srimati Radharani said, "What do you want with the miserable feelings of this maidservant? They call me Pagalini Radha. They say I'm a mad woman. What would you want with my happiness?" And so she refused. "I'm not going to give it. You don't want my ecstasy, my happiness." So then Krishna, who's famous as Choragraganya, he's the greatest of thieves. Rupa Goswami says, "Rasastomam Hritva." He entered into Radharani's heart. Rupa Goswami says in his Dvitiya Chaitanya Ashtakam, that Krishna entered into Radharani's heart to steal that love. But then the next question comes, how did he enter into her heart? Was there some heart surgery done? Was it a scalpel used? Hare Krishna. How did Krishna enter the heart of Radha? And Guru Maharaj gives a very beautiful example. He says, with the rising of the moon, the petals of a flower gradually open one after another. He said, we see the moon, the Chandra, and we see the closed bud of the champak flower. The champak flower is a good example because it blossoms at night. It's like the lotus flower blossoms during the day, but the champak flower blossoms at night under the rays of the moon. And Guru Maharaj says, no one sees how Chandra, the moon, with its very soft rays, opens up the petals of the champak bud. Everyone sees the moon, everyone sees the champak bud. But how does the moon, with its soft hand-like rays, open the petals of the champak bud? Has anyone ever seen it? No one's ever seen it. But when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu showed his form to Ramananda Roy, and Ramananda Roy saw what's known as Bhavan Milan, or when Radha and Krishna become one. No one has seen this before. No one has seen how the moon, Krishna is like, Krishna Sasadhara, he's like the moon, how he enters into the heart. He's Shama Sasadhara, he's like the moon, how he enters the heart of Champak Varni Radha, Radharani, whose complexion is like a champak flower. How he gradually entered, but Ramananda Roy saw that, and therefore he fainted. And Guru Maharaj explains that the prema gradually increases in different states. Sneha, Man, Pranaya, Rag, Anurag, Bhav, Ruda Mahabhav, Adiruda Mahabhav, Modanaka, Madanaka Mahabhav. There are two types, broad categories of Sneha. One is called Drita Sneha, and the other is Madhu Sneha. One is like ghee, and the other is like honey. Radharani Sneha is Madhu Sneha. It's like honey. And when the heat is applied to it, it becomes thicker. But when heat is applied to ghee, it becomes more thin. So Radharani's honey is like that. At the time of union, it becomes thicker and thicker. So how can someone enter into it? And Guru Maharaj gives another separate analogy. Don't get it confused with the one we just gave. And he says that there are different types of heroines. One is a Swadhina Bhatrika Kanta, a heroine who assumes a predominating role. And this is Srimati Radharani. And when she feels the pain of separation, the sneha melts, just like wax melts in a strong fire. And so this is how Krishna, Rasaraj Nilamani Krishna, enters into the heart of Radharani. He had to melt her heart with the fire of separation. And Ramananda Roy saw that. He saw that Bhavan Milan, when Radha and Krishna were in the act of becoming one. And therefore, Ramananda Roy fainted. So these are a little bit high topics. But as Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur once said, you should know such things exist. If we don't know that such things exist, then how will we progress to our ultimate goal? How will we help our acharyas to fulfill their desire to serve Chaitanya Mahaprabhu? Yes, it's a very high philosophy to speak about Srimati Radharani. And someone may criticize me, you're such a neophyte devotee, how dare you speak about such a thing? I can understand it, but I have an obligation. I have an obligation to my Guru Maharaj and Srila Prabhupada, to read, an obligation to read Srila Prabhupada's books. I have an obligation to my Guru Maharaj to consider the things that he's spoken, and then the best of my humble little tiny ability to repeat them, so that we can keep this thing in our sampradaya, so the devotees can understand what direction we want to go to. Otherwise, people may start thinking, I want to go to the heavenly planets, or I want to get liberation. And that they'll misunderstand, they won't get the wonderful, wonderful treasure that's there in Gaudiya Vaishnavism. So I want to stop there now and ask the devotees if Hare Krishna Radha Panditji and Advaita Chandra Prabhu, Lynn, if you like this today. Lynn says, I ask the devotees if they have any reflections on these topics. Lynn says, when God goes to the office, sounds like a good book to begin writing. It's a good title, isn't it? When God goes to the office. But we don't want to write that book. We want to write the book of When God Goes on Vacation. That's the book that we want to write. So, Hare Krishna Gauranga Prabhu, Madhupati Prabhu. Lynn's asked a question. If we're not initiated, what becomes of the service we feel we're performing with Krishna and Radha in our heart? Where does it go? Don't ever doubt that there's so much wonderful, wonderful, wonderful benefit in that. But this is the first question I asked my Guru Maharaj. What is the difference between chanting before initiation and after initiation? And he told me, chanting is so powerful. Even before initiation, you can get dharma, religiosity, artha, you can get wealth, you can get kama, sense gratification, you can get moksha, liberation. But these things are considered to be kaitava chatushtoy, or 4 types of cheating religion in comparison with panchama purushartha, the highest goal, which is Krishna prema. And that Krishna prema, Krishna tells Arjuna in the Adi Purana, Ye me bhakta jana partana me bhakta sate jana, mad bhaktanam chaye bhaktas te me bhakta tamomataha. That person who says he's my devotee, he's not my devotee. But the devotee of my devotee is my real devotee. Now, in your case, Lynn, you're also being a devotee of a devotee, because you're being a devotee of Srila Prabhupada. And you're following and pleasing Srila Prabhupada by chanting Hare Krishna and worshiping Krishna and Tulsi Devi and hearing Srimad Bhagavatam. But still, we want something more. We want to be accepted by someone who's in the line of Srimati Radharani. Because without that, we can't get that topmost level of service. I hope that's okay. Roma Hare Krishna, Aditi Hare Krishna, and Brian Prabhu. Bhakti Vinod from Scotland. Hare Krishna. Nice to see the Scottish connection here today. Subal Sham Prabhu. Mamu Thakur has commented, what an incredibly beautiful example about Chandra gently opening up the closed bud of the champak flower. Thank you so much for sharing. Such a wonderful thing. And Madhupati Guru says, hearing these, even Bhagavad Gita seems to be external, or that they misunderstand the whole. Well, it depends on which Bhagavad Gita you're reading. We want to read that Bhagavad Gita of the devotees who who the followers of Srimati Radharani. And our Guru Maharaj, he said that when Krishna says Sarva Dharma Parityaga, Mamekam Sharanam Braja, when he says the word Braja, the Bhagavad Gita is over. Because Krishna then remembers Srimati Radharani and he remembers Braj. And he can't speak any more Bhagavad Gita. We want to follow that Bhagavad Gita. And Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur and our acharyas have described to us both how the Bhagavad Gita helps us to come to this higher platform, and then on the higher platform is also hidden meanings in the Bhagavad Gita, where we see these things. And Bonnie has commented, God on vacation. Sometimes it feels like he's on vacation all the time. You got it, Bonnie. That's our God. We worship the God who's always on vacation. Okay, so that's all we have from online. Any of the devotees here would like to share any reflections on anything? Anupani Radha, what are you walking away with today? Please come and share with us. Speak loudly.
Krishna, it was such a pleasure to hear how Srimati Radharani, she is the last limit of devotion, and also she is the last limit of Guru. It's also very important. And of course, it was nice to hear that the proof of Srimati Radharani's topmost devotion is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And it was really nice to hear this poetry translation of the Srimati, what is the name of this? Śuddha-bhakti, yeah. And also hear from Ambedkar's separation as well, about this example of Champaka and blooming under the moon. It's really beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you for
Actually, I have a question. You said in the you mentioned in the beginning some devotee who was honest, and he said that he wants to go to heavenly planets. Yeah, and I also met that kind of devotees, and I was thinking that the whole process of hearing meant just for us to understand this is not really one, and not just theoretically understand, but really get the taste that we want something higher. So, and I don't want to judge anybody, I just want to ask, so is that correct, that if we are hearing properly, this desire can leave our heart?
Yes. And that's why we're hearing these verses. Shalokya sastri samnipya sarupikatamapi diyamanam jana. That someone who's really on the platform of Śuddha-bhakti, they don't even want liberation. They just want service. And what does that service mean? And this is what we're speaking today. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Ramana Sukha Prabhu, Prabhupada's disciple.
So Prabhu, when we speak about Guru Tata, different kind of gurus. And right now we just heard that Srimati Radharani is the topmost guru. And in the appearance day of Lord Balaram, we say that he's the highest, the topmost guru. So how can you balance that? Because they all true, but in a different context.
Okay. You have some kind of psychic wavelength between Ramana Sukha and yourself. Ramana Sukha, our Guru Jana Prabhupada's disciple and our kind friend. He comments, same thing you're saying. Generally, Guru Tattva is described as coming through Lord Balaram. But as you've nicely described, Guru Tattva also manifests through Srimati Radharani. It is a topic that is rarely discussed. Why is there fear amongst devotees to discuss this aspect of Guru Tattva? Two different little questions. So, Balaram, we worship Balaram because he carries the plow. And Balaram prepares us for Krishna by plowing the heart and helping us to become free from anarthas. But Balaram has another aspect. Just as Krishna had, you can't separate Krishna from his Shakti, or Srimati Radharani. So our acharyas in Srila Bhaktisiddhanta describe that Srimati Radharani's younger sister, Ananga Manjari, is the Shakti of Lord Balaram. And we see this Shakti of Radharani then coming through Ananga Manjari. And without that Ananga Manjari Shakti, Lord Balaram himself wouldn't be complete. And so, understanding it in that way, that Guru Tattva comes through Balaram because of Ananga Manjari. And as for Ramana Sukha Prabhu's question, why is there fear amongst devotees to discuss this aspect of Guru Tattva? In some of our previous classes, we spoke about different types of faith. And one type of faith is Shastra Avaranamayi Shraddha, or faith which is based on Shastra. And Bhaktivinoda comments that kind of faith is based on fear. And I have to follow all the rules and regulations. And they become a little afraid. Gopis, we can't talk about that. That's very too high. And that's okay. Don't talk about it. Don't read that section of Krishna book. Maybe you might read it someday. But don't do that. We have no problem with it. But you're not going to be able to properly represent our line, I'm sorry to say, unless you understand these points. You won't be able to understand Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu or our Rupa Nuga acharyas. Brian Prabhu has commented, we should be on holiday every day. The real meaning of holiday is holy day. Every day should be holy day for us. Yes, we should all worship. Every day should be holy day because we worship Radha and Krishna. Subal Shambhavu says, I have a request. Can you explain the bhav of Radharani in details as he explains Sneha, Man, Pranaya, Raga, Anuraga, etc.? Well, that's a nice small subject matter. Okay, we explained it a little bit in detail. Srimati Radharani's bhav is Vinamat Sevanam Janam, that she only wants to serve Krishna. And her bhav is described by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, where he says that even if you don't give me darshana mama hatam karotava, mat prananatastu sa eva nabra. You're the Lord of my life and no one else. And Bhaktivinoda Thakur says that verse is describing the mood of Srimati Radharani. So I want to stop there, and we're going to be back again on Friday with the next verse in this section of the Bhagavatam. Thank you all very much. Grantara Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Samaveda Bhakta Binda ki jai, Vancha